To the chat on Newsday Amarillo and News Channel 10 2. I'm David Lovejoy.
Good morning, I'm Rhonda.
And Chuck's still there. We heard Chuck there. Good deal. You might as well put your picture back up. We're joined this morning by Mrs. Katt Massey. She's running for the Amarillo City Council Place 4 position. Miss Massey, welcome back to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good, David. I'm actually running for place 3,
Oh,
so
place 3. My bad.
it's
My bad.
okay.
My fault.
There's a
My
lot of
place
people
3.
running.
23 of them. And that brings
Yeah.
it to this subject, Miss Massey. With such a high number of the candidates in this year's race, what are you doing to step apart, especially from those you're facing in your race, to show or give the people a difference in what our city government would look like? What's one of the biggest things that you think makes you different or sets you aside from the other candidates in that race?
And I feel that my involvement in the community, since I moved back in 2018, and even since before I left, is a true testament of the projection I want the city to go in. I've been part of a successful mural festival that has brought economic growth and beautification to our city. I serve on many boards in the community. And I've also participated a lot in the civic organization as the city of Amarillo itself by means of being an employee there. Um, I want to bring transparency, and seeing that as an employee there, I think it's something we really need to focus on, because with transparency brings trust.
Mhm.
So
Very good. Go ahead.
Well, if you well, you've got all this experience, you're involved. What are some of the things, or let me just ask, what's the first thing in the front of your mind that the city needs to work on?
we've got to work on finding the communication channels that will reach our citizens the best. We've seen a great shift in how people receive their information in the last. I mean, we've got smartphones. I think my first smartphone was in 2023. I think we've got to focus on where they're receiving that information, and then really telling the story about what's happening in our city, shining a light on what city council's doing so that our citizens understand. And if our citizens understand, hopefully they'll want to participate more in what's going on in their community and help make the decisions and show up to vote and show up to boards and commission meetings where the information is presented to them, even city council meetings.
Mhm.
I really want to grasp our community and show them that we've got a city that's working hard for them, but we also have major issues and processes that need to be adapted. You know, Chuck, I think with how we've seen some things come down the pipeline in the last, 6 months of not really telling the story or presenting all of the story. I wouldn't say that. I mean, everything is factual that comes from the city itself, but I think it was I think it was proven that we've gotta to get the information out there as it's presented in a way, like I said, that's understandable. I will I'm a communicator by heart, and if we don't talk with our citizens instead of above our citizens or below our citizens, then people aren't gonna understand what's happening. And city government in itself and government in itself is slightly confusing sometimes. So
Most definitely.
Yes, sir.
No, no. The one thing you hear a lot of when it comes to campaigning, whether it's on the city level, the county level, the state level,
Mhm.
the national level, is how we support our first responders and how we want to give raises or help them with the equipment they need. But you're always running into one obstacle. No one says we're going to have to raise taxes to do this. And just like I think it was 2 years ago, we had the vote to see if we could raise our taxes a hair to supply give money to law enforcement, to battle crime, to battle fires in our community.
Mhm.
How would you approach that problem of not only making those jobs attractive, but keeping those long-term employees over the years making it part of how are you going to raise their pay and raise their standard of living?
You know, that's something we've got to work on. It's all across the board, but in meeting with the first responders and the firefighters and the police department, we're losing great employees to Lubbock, Albuquerque. Um, it's that it comes with that transparency of really why we're having to raise taxes, and if we are going to raise taxes, making sure that it goes to those resources that we need most, which is first responders, infrastructure, utilities. The main focus, the basics of what our community needs to survive is where those tax dollars need to go. I think I think propositions get confusing. I think packages get confusing. I think when it comes to having to, if we do take a tax rate to a vote again, we've got to explain really like here's your police officers. Here's what they're making. Here's what Lubbock's making and showing them the data. I mean, if we're not paying those first responders or even our employees what they deserve, we're going to lose quality employees that are working for us. There's 2,100 people that work in the city of Amarillo, and they work hard every day. And so we're going to lose talent in every which direction. So we've got to really, it goes back to, guys, communication and what those propositions mean in a way that's understandable.
So, with so many people running, I mean, we have so much going on in these elections right here.
We
Uh,
do.
Tell us what you think the number one reason is that you're the best person to fill this place three position.
Like I mentioned before, my involvement already with the city of Amarillo. I've seen the ins and outs. I think I've missed in the last 2 years, maybe 4 or 5 council meetings because I was on maternity leave. I know how the organization works. I know the path that it takes to get things done. I know that we've got good processes happening. We've got to work on some other things though. I mean, I think being inside the organization and seeing firsthand the things that we need to take a step towards changing for the betterment of our community is something that I have great knowledge on, and that sets me apart. But I will say there's 23 people running and whose heart is in the place of progressing the city. We would just all do it differently. Um, I think that I'm a young mother who brings a fresh perspective on, leaving this community better for my children. My parents did it for me. I talked about it in my teaser. We were involved in civic organizations. My dad and my mom have been in business for 47 years, all to benefit and beautify the community. And I want to do the same for my children. And I, I think that it's important for our future
Mhm.
generations. And I do bring a fresh perspective of how we could do that. There's a lot to learn.
Yeah, yeah. There's a
So
bigger learning curve. Ms. Massey, where can people find out more about your campaign and how they can find out how to be involved or just more information on what your vision is?
absolutely. I am at Cat. It's a cat with a K and 2 T's. So Cat, the number 4, Amarillo at gmail.com. Cat, a K and 2 T's. So cat4amarillo.com and then cat4amarillo, all the same on Facebook. You can find all my information up to date on what's going on with my campaign, public meetings that are happening. We've got city council tomorrow at 1, boards and commissions as well. So you can find all of it there.
All right. That Miss Katt Massey seeking a term on the Amarillo City Council in place 3. Once again, thank you for your time, Miss Massey.
Thanks,
We look
y'all.
forward to talking to you again. Okay.
Thank you.
All
Y'all have a
right.
good day. Happy
You
Bye
too.
Monday.
bye.